those linebackers are the bleep. That was one of the conversations that we had coming out of Georgia's scrimmage on Saturday. The Dogs going to Sanford Stadium for the first time for the 2025 season for a scrimmage, and we're going to get you ready over at Dog Post. It's got a very long report about the goings on, not just at the scrimmage, but during fall camp as well. And I want to make sure that y'all go on to Dog Post to check that out. A couple of different things about the scrimmage. We're talking about Ryan Puglisi, Renee Frazier, Gunnar Stockton, Josh McCray, Cash Jones, KJ Bolden. Did I say Chris Jones, Gunnar Stockton? A lot of different guys, Halen Taylor in the report. Even some recruiting about David Jacobs Jr. at Holy Innocents. Oh, excuse me, Blessed Trinity. Jeez. Look, so the defense won the day in Athens, and there's a lot of different ways that was the way that it was portrayed to me. So there's a lot of different ways to interpret that. It may be that Georgia ran it better coming into the scrimmage than they did during the scrimmage. It may be that they were working on particular things. This is going to be a strange thing to say. I think there were two overarching themes about Georgia's scrimmage on Saturday. Number one, there were no injuries that were significant or any really that we're aware of to make you aware of at this time. Secondly, and this is not just the scrimmage, I think this has been like an overarching challenge for Georgia. It's not hot. It's not hot at all. And the point of fall camp, there's a lot of points of fall camp, but one of the major obstacles in fall camp is that it's always extremely hot and brutal. It's not been, and it's supposed to rain the rest of this week, easy enough for me to say, in Athens. So it's raining right now. So that's kind of problematic, I think, for Georgia, not getting a hot period of time in August. It might not affect them at the end of the day because they don't really play a big early afternoon game. But they do go to Tennessee in week 3. Will it be that they played in the heat enough against Marshall and in the second game or not? I don't know. I think that's something to pay attention to because that's something that Kirby, I think, mentioned after the scrimmage to people who were there, that it's not the end of the world to not be hot, but it changes some things. You can work on stuff more, but you don't have the mental stress of I'm tired. Yeah, so what? Everyone's tired. If you should be tired if you're going hard. But I think it was characterized to us that Gunnar Stockton had a good day. Here's one quote about what's going on at Georgia. And again, we've got a great offer for you right now. This is what we were hearing. We do these every Sunday. This just happens to be the Sunday after the scrimmage. And right now the offer is you can get 3 months of Dog Post and our 2025 preview for $15. So that's the typical monthly cost of Dog Post. Not exactly a lot anyway. But right now you can get a great deal in signing up right now. And let me tell you, a lot of people have. So I would do that right now. You can see the graphic on the screen. I'll also have it below for those of you who are watching online. Here's one of the statements that we got during this week. This was before the scrimmage. The coaches know we have the talent, but there are two things about this team that are sort of negative and uncontrollable. Number one, they are healthy. Number two, I misspoke a second ago. Number one, they are young. Number two, will they stay healthy? I think Saturday, they don't let us watch the scrimmages, so we talk to people who go and watch them, and I don't know. That's their prerogative. It's been that way at Georgia since before Kirby Smart. I mean, that's been since Jim Donnan, I think. So that's not that's nothing to work around. But I would prefer to see things with my own eyes rather than trust people. Although they are trustworthy as time goes on, you know who you can trust. But I think, in terms of the run game, there's a couple of things overarching here. Number one, it's not surprising that any defense would be, quote, in front of the offense right now. It's August 10th. So that's not confusing, complicated, anything. It's what is trickier to know is, did the defensive line just play really well on Saturday? And if they did, is the youth discussion sort of over talked about right now? I don't think so. I mean, I think that they're younger, particularly in certain spots, matters. I mean, they lost Ingram Dawkins, they lost Nazir, they lost Michael Williams. That's a lot of people to lose on the front that are not coming back, and you're replacing them with guys who have played, some of them, but like the guys that they really think could be special are freshmen. That didn't affect Clemson in 16. They had some really good defensive linemen. That didn't affect Clemson in 16. I'm just saying, I'm not comparing these guys to that group. That was a really good group, Christian Wilkinson and company. But, you know, I think it does. That has to be taken into consideration. I also think there is a growing sense that this team is being relatively undervalued by folks who do what I do for a living, which is sort of talk or write or share their opinions about things. And, you know, for those of us who actually cover the program, be around it and so forth, I'm not going to act like I know more about Alabama than I do. I don't know what's going on in Alabama. I know they have challenges like all these teams. I know that the vibe at Georgia is a little different than last year. I wouldn't overdo that. But I think also, too, the betting markets have caught up with where insiders at Georgia are. They're saying this team's better than people think. This team's better than last year's team if they can stay healthy. This team's got a lot of parts at receiver. The receiver discussion is certainly something we could talk about in a second here. But all those things. Well, now the betting markets have them as the number 2 betting favorite behind Texas. That's it. They're in front of Ohio State now. They're in front of Penn. They've been in front of Penn State, but I think the word is leaking out, is seeping out would be the better way to put it. You know, I think there were about 500,000 people there yesterday. It's a lot of people. And so the word starts getting out. People start taking action. I mean, I still think Texas is the most gifted team, but part of that is because I think Arch is more gifted than Gunner. I don't know that that means they're the better team. So we saw a year ago, you know, Georgia really smothered Texas in Austin, and then just won a tight game in Atlanta. I wouldn't overdo it, but they did it without their starting quarterback. You know, Arch did play in that game. Arch didn't play meaningful snaps in that game. I mean, that's not true either. He played like 3 snaps, and they were late in the game or in overtime, whatever it was. But he didn't replace Quinn Ewers. Gunner did replace Carson, and we don't know what that second half's like with Carson in there. We don't know. We know what it was like with Gunner. But I think that sort of what I'm trying to say is, and this is stuff I've talked about on Dog Post. Like, I talk with y'all, and if you're almost 8 minutes, 9 minutes in this video, then we have a connection here. I talk with y'all, but I only talk with y'all once a day. I talk with them every hour, every day, literally. You're not going to miss out. That's the value of taking advantage of this deal we've got right now. Is I will not be able to offer this deal in about 7-8 days. So take advantage of it now. You might have one more of these videos with me sort of talking about behind the scenes stuff. And then, you know, we already had to order a few more magazines because it was overdone. Go ahead and take advantage of this before your time runs out. That you can see the QR code on the screen. You can go to Dog Post. Tens of thousands of people read these articles, and you know, it's important to sign up now, because by the time you get to September, we'll still have deals that just won't be as good. And getting back to the point here, I think that there's an understanding that this team has a connection with Gunner Stockton. However, I mean, Gunner's got to do it. That's number one. There is a obvious upgrade in the skill positions on the offensive side of the ball. So part of you could say, well, why are they struggling then in a scrimmage? Well, we only saw, the number one defense played well. I'll put it that way. I don't know. It's people get less. They take fewer mental notes as the other players come in, and then you're not stacking people up. When the ones are going against the ones, or the higher level folks are going against the higher level people, those are obvious. You know the numbers and all that, and then you don't know who the twos are going against. Monroe Freeling in 2023 was not the guy he is now. So when he's out there, like 57, who is that? So, it was like that. But I think it's not. So there's multiple things. The best news was there were no injuries. But secondly, you're hearing things that are consistent with what's been built this first 11 days of camps, which is, man, they look like they're a good team. And they look like they're, quite honestly very talented. Again, the coaches are this has come from what we're hearing. Coaches are very energetic. The kids are responding. The kids are going 100 miles an hour. The kids have a lot of energy and they are hungry. Now, I put that in there. I probably shouldn't have. I don't know how you quantify hunger. Anyway, it seems like there's something to prove. They don't look sloppy. That's different than hungry. Hungry and, moxie. I'll probably do a video about this in a little bit about what Greg McElroy said about Gunner. We need to quit using the word moxie. We use the word moxie to describe a very specific quarterback that looks like Gunner Stockton, that looks like Jake Fromm. I think maybe, and Kirk Herbstreit uses that word a lot. It's a word that, I'll be frank, I'm not sure what it means. Does it mean swagger? I don't. Moxie is a word that, like, people didn't use that to describe Cam Newton. And I can assure you, whatever Gunner and Jake have, Cam has a lot more of it. So there's that. Cam had plenty of attitude. I think Gunner Stockton, as I've been trying to say for a long time here, I've seen him. I know what he can do, and he can really play quarterback. I do not think he will be a starter in the NFL, but I think he's a really good quarterback. And playing that position, Jake Fromm was really good at playing quarterback. That was the struggle for Jacob Eason, was coming in, and Jacob was raw. Brock Vandagriff was raw. I think we're finding that Trevor Lawrence was more raw than he seemed. Or maybe not challenged at Clemson. I think that was maybe more of it. Gunner played a lot of downs at Ravens. He played under the tutelage of people that really knew quarterback, the intricacies of it. There was this talk of his footwork, and Gunner was the one that brought that up to me. Hey, look, if your feet are wrong, you're going to be wrong. You can't. You don't shoot free throws with your right foot pointed at the block. You shoot it at the rim. You don't. There's a way to play defense, and there's a way to do these things. And Gunner knows how to do these things. It does not absolve him from making mistakes. We saw that in the championship game. We saw that, I guess, in the Ryan and I watched the Sugar Bowl. We did not watch the Texas game. We watched the Sugar Bowl. Georgia left that thing on the table. It would have been a close win had they won, but or maybe it would have been like 21. It would have been the score that Notre Dame beat Georgia by, but it wouldn't have been like 40-something. No, it wasn't that kind of game. But that's a game they should have won. They left that on the table for sure. But there's been a lot of games that Georgia's won where the other teams left things on the table too. This is sports. I'm just saying that, they were not like outclassed by Notre Dame. They were probably a more gifted team. They just made 3 absolutely horrific errors, and it resulted in them losing 17 points. Notre Dame, I know they scored 2 touchdowns in 30 seconds. I think it was actually like 17 points within a minute of game clock. That is hard to recover from. A non-offensive touchdown, a legitimately earned field goal, a long one, And then, the turnover inside the 8 or 9, they threw one pass, was a touchdown. So it was just like boom, 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 boom. And the game was lopsided in a way that it had not been. So that's the sort of stuff like those are, I would say, to be honest with you, the turnover was not on Gunner. You've got to effectively block. And I was talking about Monroe Freeling earlier. He's got to be steadier during those moments. And that's not me talking shit about Monroe. It's just true. I mean, I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. Speaking of cussing, I will just say this real one time. One of the quotes in here. We typically don't cuss a lot, and we don't use certain words at all. But to convey things sometimes, this is one of the discussions from Saturday night. It says, those linebackers are the shit, one insider said after the scrimmage. The speed of the defense is noticeable. They need KJ Bolden, and I think he is, I got to correct that typo, and I think he's delivering. So I'm actually going to do that right now. Give me 1 second here. Sorry about that. I wanted to correct that typo. But look, I think, there's a lot of optimism about the tight ends. There's a lot of optimism about the wide receivers. The younger tight ends have definitely stuck out to a lot of different people. I think the question marks, I don't think Saturday helped answer question marks about the offensive line or necessarily the defensive line. What I mean by that is, and you can chase your tail here all day long, did they run ineffectively because of what the defense did or because the offense wasn't well? Kirby said to people, from what I understand after the game, or after the scrimmage, that they'd run more effectively until that day. Well, does that mean this? Does that mean that? I mean, I think the number one thing you can get out of fall camp is, are guys being held accountable for the way they're playing, the way that they are doing things. Are the fundamentals being nailed down in a way that it will benefit you over time? Those are things that, the fundamentals, like a wide receiver being where they're supposed to be, so a lineman doesn't, or outside linebacker doesn't come flying through and create a fumble. Yeah, that's stuff like that that's not fundamentals in terms of the physical thing. It's a fundamental mentally. So, like, lackadaisical stuff cannot be tolerated. These are all things that's what you're looking for coming out of camp. I would argue, are you mentally tough, first of all? But secondly, are guys doing things the right way all the time? Are they holding themselves to account? Not, this guy made an amazing play, or this guy got stuck in the hedges for a while, stuff like that. Those are curious anecdotes, but are the things that they're supposed to be doing what they're doing? I'm not a football coach, and I did not see the scrimmage. I do not know the answer to those questions. Kirby will tell us, in theory, in this coming week. But those are the things that you have to be able to rely on. It is certain that they have upgraded their talent on offense. That is clear, particularly at pass catching positions that are primary pass catching positions. I think the running backs are deeper. I think we don't totally know with the running backs because, like, Cash was probably running with the twos. I don't know if Cash is going to be running with the twos during the season because I don't know that the transfer from Illinois will have missed a week beforehand with illness. So we've got some moving parts still that are out there. I think people should be excited about this team. I'm just going to cut to the chase. I don't know why anyone would predict an undefeated season or anything like that. I think this is a matter of not just getting them to the starting line soon. This next scrimmage on the 16th, the Letterman scrimmage, that scrimmage, you get out of that without injuries, you will have gone a long way to your season going the way you would prefer it to go. At this point, a year ago, Ra Thomas was no longer with this team. 2 months from now, Colby Young was not with this team. ETN was suspended for the first game. You had Tate Ratledge out for an extended period of time. They had Jared Wilson then started missing games. They had too many missing parts for too long last year, and then you go into the playoffs without your starting quarterback. Okay, too much. But every year at Georgia, in 2000, you don't have JT Daniels, and then you start Stetson Bennett, who gets injured against the Gators, and then here comes JT Daniels. In 2021, you lose George Pickens before the season starts. And then your starting quarterback, JT Daniels, goes down in game 4. And then Stetson Bennett rolls on. Okay? You lose Adam Anderson during that season, etc. And then let's fast forward to 2023. It's 2022, excuse me. You're going to lose your heart and soul, Nolan Smith, for the stretch run of the year. And that was a massive loss for Georgia. In 22, you also had, there were only at the beginning of the season did you have 2 first-rounders from that defense playing at the same time. That was when Nolan and Jalen Carter were both healthy. They didn't have that from the Missouri game on. Jaden was hurt a little bit before that even. Okay? So, and I will say in 2023, I do not recall a game where Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers were both healthy at the same time. So, this is a part of the sport. That's the bad news. The good news is they are deeper. It sure seems like it at the skill positions. But like I said, a season ago, you had ETN dealing with injuries half the year. You had, you had Tate Ratledge. You had Carson at the end of the year. Those are 3 pretty big cogs in your offense. And to miss one of them for the playoff, miss one of them for a lot of the season, and then they basically had those 3 for the first half of the Texas SEC championship game. That was it. I mean, ETN did not play against Tech, as I recall. He played against Texas. I think Tate was at that game, although I'm not. No, he was not. You get my point? Whether I'm exactly correct on all of those or not, that's my point. So they've got to get to the starting line, but you got to practice too. So it's very tricky for Kirby and them. Take advantage of the deal. We'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.